Welcome to the Blazer Focus podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian, just coming off a FanFest on Sunday. And what a FanFest it was. I am joined by Craig Birnbach today. Craig, I didn't see you at Blazers FanFest on Sunday. What were you doing that was more important than checking out this new look Blazers team? Come on, what were you up to?
My wife works Sundays, so I went to the Lego store, well, the fake Lego store at Vancouver Mall. So I was doing some Lego action and then reading all your tweets to keep updated.
So you enjoyed my live tweet highlights. Woo, I was cranking them out, wasn't I?
Yeah, plus I did enjoy the talent contest. They went singing rather than dancing, even though it felt like an incorporation of both. There was plenty of singing and dancing, but Scoot Henderson, I think little Mary J. Blige action. That was pretty impressive.
Showman.
I mean, he wasn't even born. Was he even born when that
I
song
think he was
came
born
out?
that year. He said his favorite song was a Mary J. Blige song called, oh my God, what did he say? I can't remember it.
It was a slow song.
Yeah, more of a ballad and sort of mid-tempo. And he said he wanted to do something that, was more up-tempo to get the fans going. But yeah, when he started singing, I'm thinking I think that was 2001. That's 22 years ago. My man's 19. That was amazing. That would have been like me at 19 singing like a Motown hit or something from the OJs. I don't know. Are they on Motown?
And he had a script, but he went off script most of the time. Like he had that thing memorized. I was impressed. Solid rhythm, good dancing, and they what I enjoyed about it is they were into it. You could tell that, and that's always makes it fun. And you got to think that training camp kind of bonded them, and to be able to play out in front of the crowd where the game does not matter at all, and they're just kind of going out there to show the crowd some fun and not get hurt. But I think the end that made me smile for sure to see all that. And especially considering these are kids, like these are young kids doing this. It was like at a college thing that they were freshmen and they're like the same age. So it works.
Yeah. The older I get, the younger they seem, what I'm saying? And I'm at the point now where my daughter just went to high school. So my middle child is almost as old as a lot of these kids. So yeah, I absolutely view them as kids, but like you just talked about how they seem to bond, like the way they were interacting with each other, you could just totally say there was a really good connection with the group. Ryan Rupert did a nice job singing. Chris Murray and I can't remember who Chris Murray did a duet with. They did a good job. It was way better than last year's. Last year's rookies were Jabari and Shaden. Jabari did a good job, but Shaden's just like too shy. And he kept like getting confused or acting confused, like what he was supposed to do and like stopping it. And like then Dame had to get on him and say, that's not good enough. You have to do better. And that's just Shaden's personality. Whereas Scoot was like, give me the mic. And like Scoot, like usually they perform right there at center court. Scoot was going off towards the baseline and pointing at people in the crowd like he was, freaking, Usher or something. It was hilarious. But afterwards I said to him,
he's not scared of the spotlight.
No.
I think we know. I mean, he's proven that time again. We knew that, from before the draft and he certainly likes the lights. He's not going to shy away from interviews. It will be interesting to see what happens when the Blazers go on a losing streak and how we'll handle that, because I always say it's easy in the beginning before results matter. And the one thing about the pro game is results matter. And much more in the G League, wins and losses don't matter. And while I don't think wins and losses are going to really be that important for this year's team. They're professional basketball players. And, he's never played this many games in this many days. And he is going to face, and I want to say failure because that's the only word there is. He's going to face failure like he's never faced before in his young life because he's just been that good. And it'll be the first time that he's really playing against people that he can't just use athleticism to overcome. So, that always interests me in covering a team to see how those people react. People like Brandon Roy, Damian Lillard, they figured it out fast. People like LaMarcus Aldridge, not so much. He didn't love talking after losses or give you the full details. And that's not a slight against a person. Sometimes people can't get past what just happened on the court to quickly transition into talking with the media and the public.
Right, 100%. So yeah, the struggles are coming, man. Like it's, I think people are going to be in for a rude awakening when you get past the hype and get into actual playing. So my comparison for him this year is really going to be Jaden Ivey, who for Detroit, he was 16 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He shot 42%. Which is what Scoot shot last year in the G League. He shot 34% on threes. If Scoot does that in year one, amazing.
Yeah.
He was 27% on threes last year. But that's he had a 103 offensive rating and a 121 defensive rating. So that just shows you, like, even going 16-5 with those decent shooting numbers, his offensive rating was 103 because he's just making a lot of mistakes, and he was on a bad team. This team isn't as bad, probably. But his offensive win shares were negative 0.9. His defensive win shares were positive 0.8. So he had basically a 0 win share. And Jaden Ivey's a talented cat who went fourth, right? He went fifth in the draft. He's taller, 6'4", super athletic, super fast, can do a lot of the same things Scoot can do. It takes a basketball scout who's poring over film to really tell me the difference between the two right now. But that's just an example of where, he played 74 games. He put up solid rookie numbers. He didn't impact winning. And I just feel like that's where Scoot's going to be. So if Scoot did that 16, 5, and 4 and shot those numbers, I'd be absolutely 100% cool with his first year. There shouldn't be great expectations. They're going to lose a lot of ball games. Now, the only thing I can say I learned from FanFest was that they seem very connected. You get nothing out of the basketball because it's not real basketball. There was a nice alley-oop lob from Scoot to Ayton, and I think he reversed it even. And stole the ball from Scoot while he was trying to get it to Ayton and got a breakaway dunk. Scoot had a horrible brick on a short mid-range jumper that I think was scooped up eventually by Jabari. He followed up. Ayton hit a nice mid-range jumper, but Robert Williams didn't even bother to close out on him. Like it was just a gift mid-range jumper. So you're getting really nothing out of it, but they just at least seem like they're having fun together. But we'll see how long that lasts, like you said.
I think they're going to have fun, and they will have fun because they're young, and they know that this is, it's going to be hard for them to lose games, but they're going to be talked to. They already know. Chauncey Billups is a very positive guy. So I think that there'll be a lot of smiles. And as far as evaluating what matters for Scoot, I don't even know what numbers I care about. I mean, if you look at Sharp's rookie year numbers, they were nothing impressive at all. But you saw the signs, I mean, you could just see there's guys, like, oh, if he keeps going like this, he's going to be, something. Right. So while we still don't know about Sharp, we have seen enough to say, oh no, this guy's got that potential. And for me, I want to see the things that they talk to you about in camp, that this guy's so fast, right? And these are guys that played with fast speed.
Right.
I mean, it's not like
they were playing with you and then went and played with Scoot, right?
Right. I mean, when a guy who played with the Celtics last year goes, he's so blinking fast, like that means, that's like Ty Hill fast, right? Like all the guys, wide receivers are fast, but people say Ty Hill's super fast. So there's no doubt. And then it's everything you've ever read in the scouting report. It's why he was the number 2 overall pick, because he plays at a speed that 19-year-olds aren't supposed to play at and under somewhat control.
Right.
So what I want to see is at the point guard position, it's not just your skills, your numbers. It's also what do your teammates think of you and how are you controlling the action? So, and on both ends of the court. And that's the one thing you could see with Dame right away. When he was, a rookie, like he took control of the offense and said, no, I got this. He went from the big sky to the NBA and was like, oh, no, I got you. I know what play we're going to run. And, I'm not afraid to shoot. I think Scoot's more of a distributor than he is a scorer. So be interested to see where his assist numbers are. But again, if he makes 3 plays in a game that you go, oh, that's what I want to see. I want to see like, this guy does special things because he got picked number 2 overall. And that's what you need from the number 2 overall pick is those special things. That's what Sharp showed us with his athleticism. And then last year, I thought what Sharp's shooting and his ability to get his shot, that's when I went, okay, he dunked last year and you're like, that guy's crazy athletic. Well, Thomas Robinson was crazy athletic.
Derek Jones was crazy athletic, right?
Right. Yeah. but he didn't do a step back three in the corner,
Right.
with ease. Or so that's what I want to see. Evaluating numbers, it'll be interesting to see where they are. But my old rule, like
Someone's got to
two
get them.
people got to get 20.
Someone's got to get the numbers. You're not going to lose 120-0, right?
Nope. You're going to get 100 points. You got to score 20, and somebody's got to score 20. And in general, two people have to score 20 when you're on a young team like this, and you're going to get minutes.
Right. One thing Chauncey said is, he said, "Yeah, man, he looks really good, but he's young." Right? Mm-hmm. He's young. True. And this is a point guard telling you he's young. And Chauncey remembers being young. He was drafted, 2 years out of college. And so I look at like I'm just throwing out a number. There's 1,000 mistakes between being a good prospect and becoming a winning player that you just have to make. Maybe it's 500, maybe it's 2,000, just give you a number. And they're unavoidable. You have to make them. You have to go through them. And it's going to sometimes look awful. And some nights you're going to have 15 of those in one night, right? And it's going to be a bad night. But these are things you just need to go through, especially when you're on a team, like you're not in a situation where people can carry you and you can just sort of fit in as a backup, which would have been the case had they traded for 8 and then got someone else and kept Dame. You're probably going to be starting or playing starters minutes. And so you're going to get exposed. You're going to, it's like a rookie hotshot DB corner coming in the NFL because they lock down everybody in the Pac-12. And then all of a sudden, Tyreek Hill is running right by him. They're like, whoa, what's that? Well, because you have to refine your technique, man. You have to be able to study film. You have to be able to give yourself an edge because these guys are going to roast you. Doesn't matter if you're the 5th pick in the draft. They're going to roast you. Same thing in NBA. There's not one. I've said this all summer. There's not one scorer in the NBA going, oh, no, Scoot Henderson's coming to get me. He's going to lock me up. There's not one. Just not a one. He's going to have to learn how to play at that level. And that's fine. So I just feel like there's some people out there who think it's going to be instant, godlike. Like people are saying they're going to make the playoffs. Oh boy. Like now, if they make the dude, if they finish above 500 and make the playoffs, it would be like one of the more amazing things like ever. Yes. There's no reason to believe you don't lose one of the greatest players in franchise history who had a win above replacement of 12, at a center whose win above replacement based on 538 sports was 0, right? At a forward who can't shoot and a backup role-playing point guard, and then a 19-year-old who didn't put up good efficiency numbers in the G League, and all of a sudden you're a playoff team. That just does not happen. So the expectations, the over-under in Vegas right now is 28. If you think they're going to win 41 and you know it and you believe it, and you don't put 50K on that, you're a dumbass. So get out there and put your money on it if you believe it. But in reality, we're just going to see things happen that are going to make people go, oh, yeah. Here's another thing, Shaedon Sharpe. Like you talked about Shaedon Sharpe, his numbers weren't great. They weren't. The last 10 games, he was amazing numbers-wise, but of course, didn't really have a real team around him. But on like his win above replacement, his rating, his offensive rating was a 110, which kind of surprised me. I thought it'd be a little bit higher. His defensive rating was 117. So he was a net rating of a -7. And people act like he's just, I think he has potential to be a future all-star, but people act like he's going to come into this year with Scoot and they're going to be unstoppable. It just doesn't work that way. So I felt like Chauncey said all the right things, but I just felt like he knows. They
know. But Cronin knows too.
Yeah, like they know what's coming, and it's not always going to be pretty. And so this season is just got to all be about growth. Like just be about growth and maturing together and letting Scoot and Shaedon catch up to Ayton and Ant. And speaking of Ant, I mean, from everyone I talk to who can actually watch practice, Ant's by far the guy. Like it's just blatantly obvious. He's so much more refined. I mean, we've watched Ant carry the team to victories in the NBA. We've watched him do that. We've watched him drop 45. We've watched him have 11 assists. We watched him for 2 months without Dame 2 years ago, where he and Nurk had the team playing almost 500 basketball, and then they won 4 in a row, and they shut them down with magical injuries because they were like, we got to stop this. So we've seen Ant. And then last year, I think his numbers last year, like he was like 28-7 in games without Dame. So this is his team. And so Scoot's going to have to take a back door to Ant. And, I sort of feel like you showcase Ant and then you decide if you're going to keep Ant and have him be the focal point of your offense in the backcourt, or if maybe you're going to move Ant and build solely around Scoot and Sharp. To me, that's what most of the season is about.
So hope, that's the part. It's not just growth, it's growth and hope.
Right.
Because if Sharp doesn't take a step up, and this is a huge year to me, year 3, if he doesn't start looking like a real NBA basketball player after playing the minutes that he played in the first 2.
Wait,
when I say a real
Sharp?
NBA basketball,
Sharp?
Sharp,
The second year.
yeah,
You said
second year.
year
I'm
3,
sorry,
yeah.
but if he doesn't show, that last year was so long. I think it's 2
Yeah.
years in my head, and it kind of was 2 years. How it was shifted. But I'm saying, like, if he doesn't show that, oh no, this is a guy I could play, because last year when he played 30 plus minutes, you knew you were losing the game.
Right.
I mean, that's just the truth. You just knew, because something was very wrong, and he was going to do exactly what you said with those numbers. He's got to show you that he is a guy that plays 30 minutes a game, averages, 18, 19 a game, and has nights where he gets 25. And then you got to hope that Scoot's everything, that potential's there, that you see it and you're like, okay, John Morant showed it pretty fast. Like, we knew, like, oh, okay. And then, that's how fast things have to happen when you're playing the point guard position in the NBA. If you're going to be a lead guard in the NBA, you got to be able to be good and quickly, or you're going to get moved, or you're going to be a failure. I mean, it's not, centers can take a little bit more time, but guards got to show it, because they're not going to, while you might grow and might get a little stronger, your game is going to be more similar to what you did your whole life as a young person, as a lead guard. So there's hope there. But,
Right.
You mentioned so many things. Just travel.
Oh my God.
I mean, these guys haven't done that kind of travel. They don't know, hey, put the video game down. Like, it's time to go to bed. Like, the freedom and you don't travel like this in the G League. So he's going to experience this. Now, everything you read and you hear from people is he's exactly the kind of guy that's going to get it right, pretty quickly. But you still can't get it in one day and be great. And the only way this team makes the playoffs is if his Scoot is great. And he's just not going to be there. Now, the Simons thing, to me, there's no doubt he's the best player on the team. To me, it's Simons, Ayton, and Grant are your 3 best players.
Right.
Because they've proven it in the NBA. And then you hope on the other 2. But I don't know. I don't want to get back to this Simons, Scoot sharing the lead guard thing again. And so to me, it's Simons.
So you're not going to be the lead. This came up.
Yep. Yes.
So
okay. So who do you think's going to start? Did he give you anything? Did Chauncey give you something?
So here, okay. So first, you mentioned Morant. That was a great comp. He was 18-7 as a rookie, shooting 48 and 33. If Scoot does that, hallelujah, right?
Oh my goodness.
Right. Okay. So the 2 big decisions obviously are, which of the 2 of the 3 guards do you start at guard? And if you don't start Sharp at a guard, does he start at the 3? And the only other option really there is Matisse Thybulle. You're not going to put Grant at 3 and Williams at the 4, because Williams is a complete liability starting at the 4. He does not shoot at all. So having him, they just don't want to do that. That's already been decided. Grant starting at the 4. So who's going to start at the 3? Well, I think it's obvious that it's going to be Matisse Thybulle. I gave, with the first practice, we were told to be there about 12:30, 12:45. We didn't get in until 2, and interviews were until 2:15. So I started grilling Billups on small forward, and we had a little back and forth. I go, you kept us out there waiting for an hour and a half, so I'm going to grill you. And he started laughing. So you can grill me all you want. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And so then later I was joking about how I was basically trying to make him come up with a starting lineup, day 1. But I was mainly joking, but I wanted some hints. And the hints have been that it's going to be Matisse at the 3. Right? So if it's Matisse at the 3, so now we're just dealing with the fact that one of those 3 guards has to come off the bench. What was told to me in the summer was that it would probably be Ant and Sharp starting, unless Scoot is so good you got to start him at the point because of the way he's able to push the ball and facilitate. They want to play fast. And so I think what's going to happen is that they're going to decide, We want to play fast. Scoot is just ridiculous when you get him the ball in terms of playing fast and attacking. That's what we want to do. So we're going to start him, and then we're going to start Ant, because Ant is going to start no matter what. He's clearly the best of the 3 guards. It's not even close. Yeah. And then Sharp comes off the bench at the 2 and at the 3. And then you have Brogdon playing some point. Ant can play some point. Like, you can mix and match there in terms of what you want to do. But that's sort of where I think it's going to be. Scoot, Ant, Matisse, Grant, and DeAndre Ayton. That said, if I'm really, really trying to win and Shaden has made a big jump like they claim he has, I'm starting Ant and Shaden and Matisse. This is what I'm doing. To me, the only reason you start Scoot is because he was number 3 pick in the draft and you kind of maybe feel pressure to do so. I don't believe Chauncey operates that way. I think he wants to try and win. I think he wants guys to earn their minutes. But it just seems like Scoot's been so good in camp at doing what they want to do that they're going to go ahead and roll the dice and start him. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter that much because there's going to be plenty of minutes for all 3 of them to get at least 30. So I think you're going to be fine there regardless. But back to what you just alluded to a second ago, if you start Scoot and Ant, you're right back to having a 6'2" and a 6'3" backcourt, which ain't going to work. But again, are they trying to make it work this year anyway? So maybe it just doesn't matter.
No. Yeah, I don't think it matters. And I actually don't matter. It doesn't matter who starts game 1 either. You know, they kind of, you know, it's a long season when you're not looking to when the playoffs and the championship aren't your overall goal. It's a long season no matter what. So who cares in a way who starts in the beginning? But I think mentality-wise, I think it matters to Scoot, and I think it matters to the franchise to start him. You picked him 3rd overall. I kept saying 2nd because I keep forgetting that the Rockets didn't draft him 3rd overall. Like I just think you do it. The problem's going to exist whether you start him or not because Simons is your best player. You know, like not starting.
No,
Simons.
He needs to start. Yeah, like when I say not matter, I'm not just saying like you have to start him.
But Scoot's got to start eventually, or else this whole thing is a waste. Like, why'd you pick him 3rd and trade Dame, right? Like, if he's not a starter eventually, and even if they don't start, they're going to end up playing together for a majority of the time. Right. So you got this problem whether you start it or you don't start it. Like, it doesn't matter. They're both going to play 30 minutes a game plus, and eventually they're going to have to both be starters. And I mean, I guess Scoot's still young enough. Maybe he gets to be 6'7". Maybe there's a miracle. But you know what I mean? Like, your problem exists regardless of who starts and who doesn't start. And to me, yeah, I you know, if I was a betting man, like I would tell I am a bit of a betting man. So I would tell everyone, don't listen to Fentress. Do not bet 50,000 that the places are gonna go the over, like no matter how good you feel about it. But I would bet that Simons is not going to be here in 2 years.
No.
You know, or I mean, I just don't get it. Like I said to you from the get-go, when you drafted Scoot, you've decided he's your point guard of the future. No one decides in this league anymore that your 6'2" guy is your 2 guard of the future. Like, it's not smart planning. It doesn't work in the NBA. So to me, none of it matters yet because you're not trying to win, but eventually he's the older guy. You better hope that Scoot pushes him out if you're the Blazers, because if not, you're trading Scoot and it didn't work out. So, I mean, unless they think that somehow that whole system that they blew up and told us they blew it up because they realized they couldn't get any further with 2 small guards. Yeah. You know, somehow this is a difference.
Chauncey made some statement about how, you know, it's nice to have, because he said he considers Ant a, you know, not necessarily a point or a 2 guard. He's a lead guard. He needs the ball in his hands to create, but he's not necessarily a natural facilitator. The whole while I'm thinking, okay, so he doesn't fit, right? And then he talked about, but sometimes it's good to have 2 guys on the court because you can attack in different ways and I was thinking, okay, yeah, I've heard this before. No,
it worked. CJ McCollum and Dame, that worked pretty good sometimes.
Yeah, it worked, but it had a ceiling.
Pretty darn good.
But it had a ceiling. And ideally, you're either rolling with Ant as your lead guard / point guard and Sharp, which means Scoot's got to get traded, which they obviously didn't want to do that. Or you got to move Ant, and preferably for a legit small forward, because that's another problem. Until they get a legit small forward, no offense to Matisse Thybulle, I can't even remotely take them seriously as a playoff team because you can't have a 6'5" small forward next to your 6'3" two guard and your 6'1" point guard. You're almost back to what you had last year when you had Hart there, or the year before when you had Powell there, a couple inches taller. But Powell and Hart were far more dynamic than Matisse. Matisse is a high-end defender, but he can't create his own shot. He's not going to, if he's wide open, he can knock down the three, right? But if someone comes at him, he's got to move and go off the dribble and get inside and pull up a mid-range jumper. If I'm a defensive team, I want him to do that all day long. He's just not that kind of guy. So at times, he's going to look great on defense. He's going to make some plays. He's going to hit some threes. Great. But over the course of games and over the course of the season, it's a huge hole. So ideally, you're going to flip Ant. If Ant were 6'7", you could play him at the small forward. You're golden, right? You're great. And then he can play some point forward, but he's not. So Ant's got to go eventually. Plus, if you're going to end up wanting to go with Scoot and Sharp as your backcourt, then Ant should go somewhere he could be the lead guy anyway. So to me, you showcase the hell out of Ant. You let Ant go out there and do whatever he wants, however he wants to do it, to put up the numbers he wants to put up, and then you try and trade the guy. It'll break my heart into a million pieces to see him gone. I prepared for it all summer. I escaped the summer without it happening. But I just, to me, there's still so many questions about this roster beyond the talent level. It's just the fit isn't even there in most cases. And also, the Jeremy Grant thing. Jeremy Grant to me is a small forward trapped in a sort of power forwards kind of body without the bulk, who can't or doesn't rebound like he should at that position, but can hurt you offensively, but probably shouldn't be guarding threes extensively, but can guard fours because he's not like he's just like this tweener both ways that presents problems as well if you don't have enough around to mask his issues. And he's, like you said, a top 3 player on the team. So there's just so many fit problems with the squad. I just can't imagine them coming close to making the postseason. And we haven't even talked about injuries yet. Heaven forbid, a couple guys go down like last year and you're screwed. Then you lose 10 in a row and everyone's like, okay, now I get it.
Look, Matisse Thybulle is a piece. The reason why he wants to start because he needs some guys who've played NBA basketball in the starting lineup. That's it. Matisse Thybulle 6'5". He's small too for a small forward. He's a 2-3.
Right.
And you were trying to be nice, and Matisse Thybulle's making $11 million a year because he's a role player in the NBA, but he's averaged 5 points a game for his career. He's never, he doesn't even play much, minutes wise. Last year for the Blazers, he averaged more than he's ever averaged, where he almost averaged 30 minutes a game because they were terrible. With Philly, the guy was barely playing.
Yeah, he used to start for Philly, then he lost his starting job. He started for
Thybulle's
and then he lost the starting job. Was only playing 12 minutes a game when Philly traded him. The year before that, he only played 17. The year before that, 25. So he kind of, ever since his second year, he's kind of fallen off minutes wise, big time.
Right, and he was playing because he could play defense and he was filling a role. He's a role player. Right. I'm just saying, you can trade, and Thybulle's not going to be on this team when they're really good. If they get to be really good, he's 26. He's going to get traded. He's a piece.
Or if he is, he's coming off the bench as a defensive stopper playing 20 minutes.
Yeah, but sure, fine. He's just not he's an NBA player. The reason why, in my opinion, if Billups starts him, he's like, well, I got to start someone that actually knows rotations and knows who he's guarding. That's the thing. These guys, they don't Scoot's like, what does this guy do? I saw him on TV. I played him on video games, but you've never actually been in front of him. Thybulle could say, hey, he likes to go left on this, and they run this pick and roll. And it's not just from watching video, it's from actually doing it. So, but we keep talking like Thybulle's a legit small forward. He's more of a 2. He's 6'5". He just can guard because he's so gifted on the defensive end that you don't worry about the deficiencies on that end. But he's not, on offense, he's beyond and not, he's not a real factor. So that part, but again, none of this matters to me who starts, and especially in game 1, it's just interesting to see what Billups is going to do and how he's going to assemble his roster. But the number one thing is we should find out now. There's no reason not to find out what Chauncey Billups wants to do as a coach. And you mentioned play fast. Mm-hmm. Which is funny because he wasn't the fastest at point guard. So I love that a little bit. What else did you take from training camp and talking to these guys about what kind of system Chauncey Billups is gonna run? Because now he doesn't have to worry about, well, I got to run this because this is what Dame does.
Right. Well, you have a point guard who likes to push the pace and go, who's ultra fast and athletic, and then you got a center who obviously is way more athletic and agile and gifted than Nurkic, who can get up and down the floor. And that's what they're going to try and manufacture points in transition, because I think they know the half court is going to be suspect. A lot of times, like, I don't think they're going to win playing a half court heavy game. So they want to use their athletes and get up and down the court. So I think, I think that's what we're going to see, is that they're just going to attack and then pull back if it's not there, more so than they've ever done. Dame wasn't necessarily, he wasn't a guy who couldn't run or wasn't athletic, but they just didn't necessarily run that style where they were trying to force the issue, because Dame was such a dynamic scorer that sometimes forcing the issue for Portland meant pushing the ball up court so Dame or CJ could shoot a three, right? That's what it became. Because those two, I mean, Dame can attack the basket, but he's not going to rise over people. CJ, whenever he got into the paint, it was like he's about to get swatted. Scoot's going to be able to rise over some people, and he's such a gifted passer and has such great vision that when he gets into that paint, if it's not there, he's giving it up. Like, his mindset is to draw the defense, not have a shot, and then give the ball to someone else, whether it's close by or kick it back out. That's his mindset. Where a lot of people's mindset is, I'm going to get to the basket and try and score. It's one of the things that pisses me off about John Morant. He's so reckless. Like, he'll get into the paint and there's someone 7', 280 standing there, and he's going to go over and try and dunk on him. And it ends up on the ground breaking something. Exaggeration, but you get my point. Scoot's different. Scoot's going to end up in that position and dump it off to the guy the 7-footer should have been guarded, or kick it out to an open 3-point shooter. So that's sort of the goal, man. Push, kick, attack, kick it, and try and manufacture points that way.
Yeah, when you describe that, it just makes me think, like, on this team, if Simon's not out there, they probably can't score in the half court at all. You know what I mean?
Well, no, Shaden's good in the half court. Shaden's good in the half court.
I'm just saying, though,
he's young.
Like, he hasn't had a lot of moments.
No.
Most of his moments are on the break or driving to the basket, not in a
control,
set your offense, like run the play. Right. Like, they didn't run a lot of plays for Sharp until the end of the year.
Yeah.
So the only person, like, obviously Ayton is not a guy that had a lot of plays run for him in Phoenix for obvious reasons. He can do what he can do, and will probably, I'm just saying, the half court, your best setup, if I was me right now looking at it with, my tons of NBA coaching experience, I'd be running something with a 2-man game between Simons and Ayton, right? Like, that's your best bet as far as if you need, 13 seconds on the shot clock, and that's the guy who knows how to do it. And he's great at it. I mean, he is a guy that has probably been slowed down by the Blazers offense because of the way they've played. So it'll be interesting to see what he'll be like up, running. Because we always say we'd like to see the dunk contest winner dunk more. So we might get some of that. So that'll be fun.
We might.
All right. Preseason starts tomorrow, right?
New Zealand Breakers on Tuesday nights. We'll see how many of the regulars play. I'm sure Scoot and Sharp will play a lot. They need development, obviously, so that should be Scoot's debut. And then you got the Suns on Thursday, also at home. And then they go on the road Saturday to Utah, Monday to Phoenix, and they have about a week off until the opener at the Clippers on the 25th. It's here, man. It's here.
Harry, let's go.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks for listening to the Blazer Focus podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress. He is Craig Birnbach. Please click that subscription button. I say we watch these 2 preseason games come back Friday. What do you think? Does that sound good?
I'll check
your
schedule.
Check your schedule, because we got breakdown. We got a Sky is Falling, or they're going to the championship podcast coming after the first 2 preseason games soon after Thursday's action. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you later.